So after a couple of years, I decided I was ready, frankly, to leave and maybe go back to the private sector. And the president said, no, I'd like you to remain in the administration. What would you like to do? I said, Mr. President, there's only a couple of things I'm interested in doing. First, I'd like to go over to the NTSB. It's a great organization. I'd like to run it over there. It's wonderful people. And the others, I'd like to be ambassador to Barbados. So you can see I was sent over to the NTSB. And I finished out Marion Blakey's term. And it was a wonderful, wonderful term and a wonderful seat and a wonderful person to follow when she went over to be the FAA administrator, very talented administrator. So I finished her 3 years out, and then the president was reelected and my term was ending. And they called over and said, Mark, what do you want to do? I said, Mr. President, there's only one thing I'm interested in doing. And there was a smile and a nod, and I said, no, sir, I want to remain at the NTSB. It is the best job that any one of us could ever have, to be working with the quality people and the incredible mission that makes all modes of transportation, highway, rail, marine, pipeline, and of course aviation, as safe as it is today. So the president reappointed me, made me the chairman again, and I was just extremely pleased and have the opportunity to be part of this organization. So with that, I'm going to address everything that Dave asked me to do. And as a result of that, Dave, you don't know this, but you're going to be paying for people's dinner, because that's about the amount of time that it's going to take for me to carry all of these issues. In reality, I am going to deal with a few of these things, and then try to, if I can, answer some of your questions. Let's talk about some of the real important issues today about what's going on in this nation, and particularly as it relates to aviation. Economics. God, that's an ugly word today, but it's fact of life. We're going through some very, very challenging times. The reputation of this industry is having some challenges as well. And of course, safety. I want to talk a little about the first two, and perhaps a good deal more about the third, because that's something I know a tiny bit more about than economics and reputations. First, economics of your industry. I'm not going to have to spend a lot of time preaching to this knowledgeable, this experienced group of people about a safe and efficient aviation transportation network and its integral importance to the commercial viability, economic health, and security of our nation. Not to mention just the sheer fun and exhilaration of flying. Now, according to the statistics from the General Aviation Manufacturers Association, your trade organization, general aviation, excluding commercial airlines, directly contributes more than $41 billion, that's with a B, folks, $41 billion annually to this nation's economy. Over 200,000 aircraft, ranging from two-seat trainers to intercontinental business jets, fly nearly twice the airline's flight hours and carry 166 million passengers annually. That's a lot of statistics and a lot of importance to our nation. And I'm here, and my colleagues are behind me and saying the same thing, that you have a very safe industry here, people. A very safe industry. A record that is to be envied from all other modes all over the world. But in fairness, our mission is to work with you to make your very, very safe industry even safer, to make it as safe as it possibly can be. And I know that this industry is supportive of that. According to GAMA, 2008 year-end worldwide shipments of general airplanes decreased for the first time in 5 years. Despite a positive year for revenue, $24 billion, in which was attributed to mostly aircraft order backlog, the industry is feeling a significant impact from the slowing worldwide economy. I know that many companies in Wichita have been forced, unfortunately, to significantly reduce their workforce to compensate for weakness in orders. Your industry is severely challenged in the current economic climate, and I know you're focused on planning for a stronger future. I believe your industry will help in that stronger future. You know, one of the few nice things about getting older is that you get a little perspective on things. And in my adult life, when I went into the Air Force and then got out and started both in the reserves and in the private sector, I'd seen some of the kinds of things we've seen today, not to the extent in reality, but clearly I saw recessions. And when I was involved in the business community for 23 years, we saw recessions, economic turndown cycles, where in fact some companies went out of business. But it is amazing, and an amazing tribute to this people, the American people, to our economy, our work ethic, that when we come back stronger. And that's what I have seen in the 40-some years I have been in the workforce. That we come back having learned something and come back stronger, and I believe that is going to happen in this industry with the companies that are based here, that are selling products because they make the best products in the world, and they have the best employees making these wonderful products that are important to our national success. Reputation. I'm fully aware that your industry has been getting, and I'll be polite, beaten up. They've been beaten up in the press, they've been beaten up by the public, and they've been beaten up by Congress. And that's not right. Because the facts are, this is an important, extremely important industry. It is an industry that is integrally involved in the success of our nation's economy, and unfortunately, the message is not getting out. And I would implore each and every one of you to go back to your companies, to deal with the highest levels of management, to do whatever is necessary to make sure people understand the great value that your industry brings to this nation in helping to create economic success. And unfortunately, the perception, because of what happened a few months ago, it's carrying over, and you must do something about it. I will vigorously agree with what a letter from the National Air Transport Association that was drafted by its staff and sent to the President last month. And let me quote from it, because I think it's an important sentiment. All that is needed is an understanding in Washington that it's not fair for private aviation to become a political punching bag in some perverse populist version of class warfare in the skies. It's time to stop the populist demonizing. It's time instead to support, if only with words, an outstanding American success story. Unquote. The letter went on to say that corporate executives who are the captains of industry and who hold the keys to getting us out of these tough economic times need more flexibility, more speed, more security, more availability, more communications, better schedules, and more control than the airlines are able to offer. This message needs to be delivered to the entire American people, to Congress, and to the press. It's easy to paint an entire industry with the brush of the few who may have abused their positions. But corporate aviation has a very, very important role to play in the vitality of our nation's economy, both directly and indirectly. Every minute of these people's day, these executives, these people that are going and sending markets and opening markets and selling products, it's critical. They're out doing what is necessary to bring our economy back to where it was a few years ago. Making investments, evaluating major projects, building morale of our employees, expanding plants, exploring new markets, improving safety, attracting investors, and saving their company. It's tough to do when these things are, when you're trying to make it an important appointment and the airline may not be able to make those schedules. I don't have to continue to give you any more detail about how important business aviation is to our economy. And you need to do something about those who don't get it. Now, I gave you a little bit about the first two items we were talking about. Economics and your reputation. Now we'll talk about safety. We've had an extraordinary safety record in corporate aviation in the past few years. The people in this room can and must be proud to share some of the credit for this. Despite the explosive growth in business aviation over the past years, the NTSB data reveals that corporate jets flown by professional crews under Part 91 have accident rates that are comparable to the exceptionally low rates of our scheduled air carriers. So when accidents do happen, as you can imagine, they would attract a good deal of public attention because they're rare. And that's a good thing. They're rare. And unfortunately, because of the size of the aircraft we're flying, many times they will involve large numbers of fatalities. Aviation accidents are big news. And they give your industry a black eye in the white-hot media lights. So simply stated, and I think you know this, safety is good business. If we, and I don't want to denigrate the safety records, if you will, of those that are manufacturing automobiles today, because they have become significantly safer. When I got into highway safety back in the 70s, there were no safety belt use laws. About 6% of the American people were wearing their safety belts. 55,000 people a year were dying on our nation's highways.